Good morning, friends. Hello, Kiva. Hello, Linda, Julie, Shawnee, Jeremiah. Is that everyone? Yes, this is everyone. Hello. Hi, friends. Hello, hello, hello. How are you doing? Oh, I left it up. Let me get this off. Don't need to worry about that right now. There we go. Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Guys, this is going to be one of the busiest days that I've ever had as a content creator. I have 5 interviews today. 5 interviews today. Hey, Silver. Yep. Oh, it's awesome. It's a lot of work. You ever do any of them live? I mean, I've brought people that I have interviewed in the past on live. I wouldn't do these initial ones live. I want these to be something that has the potential of reaching farther than just people that watch lives. Hey, Jen. Hey, Angel. But like, I mean, I did a live with Layla, and I'll probably end up bringing other people, doing lives with other people later on. But I'm also working on a website where all of these videos can be that you can send to people so they can check to see if their district, their person who's running is there. Especially as the quantity of videos gets more. So already starting that process. Because right now there's only like 6 or 7 videos total. But there's a lot more on the way. I already have like 3 weeks of videos like scheduled and ready to release. Like I don't even have to do anything. They're just ready to go. Whoa. Sorry, I was checking to see if the video that I posted this morning is actually getting pushed out. So looks like it is. Looks like at least to some extent they've fixed their stuff. Not fully, but morning, Summer. But yeah, in the end, I hope that what this will end up becoming is something that pretty much everyone who is running feels that they need to be a part of, kind of a thing. Like I'm hoping this becomes a thing. Sharing to my Facebook and dispersing accordingly. If nothing else, it will make people stop and think, hey, I need to research who I vote for better. Thank you, Angel. I appreciate that. I don't know if you guys remember Emily Gross. I interviewed her, gosh, it was a while ago. She has her own podcast. I hung out with her and talked yesterday, and it was just so much fun. It was so much fun to do a podcast that didn't have to do with politicians. And no offense if any of my mutuals or people that I've interviewed are on here and watching. There's nothing against you, guys are amazing, but it was so much fun to do something different for a little bit, especially when I know I have 5 interviews today. Yeah, unfortunately, in the end, I think the best way to, I don't know the best way to get it out, except keep doing what I'm doing and hope that they share it too. And hope that people just share it anywhere and everywhere. That's all I can do. That's all I can do. Pace yourself? Oh, it's fine. It's actually not bad. I'm not doing much of the work. The questions are very similar. It's no busier than when I was a full-time content creator. Like I used to do like 8 to 10 hours a day, 5 to 6 days a week. This isn't that much. This isn't any worse than that. If anything, it's more that it's just repetitive. So many people have left Facebook. Yep. Only reason I'm a part of it at all. What's up, Gerber Daisy? Is the only reason I'm a part of it at all is because I put stuff on Instagram every once in a while. I don't put anything on Facebook. I have no desire to be on Facebook in any way, shape, or form. Morning, Clara. Did you see that we have jets over Canada now? I didn't. I'm sure that'll go over well. Facebook is the only place for me to keep up with my family. I mean, I understand why some people still have it. I don't have any family on Facebook, so heck, all of my immediate family keeps up with me by watching my content. That's how they know what's going on in my life. Stuff Facebook because a bunch of old friends, school folks, etc. are on there. I'm Generation Facebook. I think I technically am as well, but none of those friends from like school and stuff like that, like I never talk with them. Never have. Once I left school. I don't interact with any of them anymore. And I haven't for a long time. I hear what you're saying though. And if it works for you, do it. So I turned off monetization. Are you guys still getting ads? Still have it and look at it about every 3 weeks to a month. Trying to get away from TikTok since Oracle just took over. I feel you. I feel you, sad. How are you doing? Well, I appreciate you being here. Trying to get more people to go over here, so you're still getting ads? All right, well, then I'm turning on monetization. I have to get if people you guys are going to get ads anyways, then I'm going to have it make it so I actually get paid for it. Just listened to your interview with the gentleman from Illinois and shared it. It was really good. Good. I'm glad. Yeah, he was a cool dude. I'm actually interviewing quite a few people that are running for Senate. I don't know what their chances are, but I have it for my kids' school stuff where they post all their senior events, school closures. Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you, Aaron. Oh, well, that's not surprising, Julie. Those are monetized. You should get ads on those. Those are the ones I'm more likely to make some money on. In general, people don't stick around in a live as long. Not that they don't stick around at all, but they tend not to stick around as long. I hear you. I appreciate you. Facebook is less toxic than Twitter, which is my other option for that stuff. That's fair. I mean, that's absolutely fair. Yeah. I was just never talking with anybody on my Facebook, like ever. None of my friends talked to me anymore through that. Ryan had some great ideas. Yeah. I mean, a lot of them do. Linda, thank you for that gift. I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Holy moly. That's a cool pic. That's a cool little gif with it too. You're never on Facebook? Yeah. I'm so nervous that he's about to accelerate because his administration is under hot water. Honestly, though, they're pulling back. You see them pulling back. They've pulled the guy out who was in charge and a bunch of other people. They're pulling out. Yeah, they're bringing in Homan, which isn't great. But like I wouldn't quite worry about it yet. Let's put it that way. I understand the worry, but I wouldn't worry about it quite yet. Trump's boycotting the Super Bowl but sending ICE to be there. Good luck on that one. I'm glad he's boycotting the Super Bowl. I don't want him there. No one should want him there. I honestly wonder if they're not boycotting the Super Bowl because of the Super Bowl. I would actually bet that they're boycotting the Super Bowl because if they're going to have ICE there, they're worried that that things could escalate. And they wouldn't want the president wouldn't want to be there while that's happening. If I were a betting man, that's what I would guess is actually going on. I know he's threatening Canada again. He would get booed out of the stadium. Definitely possible. Where is it this year? I mean, it's the New England Patriots against who's it against? Who won the NFC championship? I only watched the AFC. Or only paid attention to the AFC. Seahawks. yeah, Seahawks and Patriots, you're gonna get fans that are gonna. Most of the fans that are gonna go to this are not gonna be fans of this administration. Like Seattle and the Patriots. I know, Pat's Seahawks Part 2. Seahawks are gonna win. False. False. Lies. Lies, Kiva. It's in San Francisco. Yeah, in San Francisco. Yeah, there's no way. There's no way. There's no way. With Green Day opening and Bad Bunny. Yeah. Well, I'm excited for that as a Patriots fan for my entire life. They have a bird in their name. They can soar. At least it's not Bears versus Patriots. That's true. That's true. Ugh. That's how you determine winning teams' mascots. I've never been so excited to see the halftime show. Yeah. Yeah. Because you know Billy Joe Armstrong will definitely call Trump out on stage. Oh, yeah. 100%. One time I brought up the 86 Super Bowl at your parents' place and you could hear a pin drop. So, at the 86 Bears Patriots Super Bowl, I was 7. I would have been 7. We had the party at our house to watch it, and there were gummy bears there, and I got sick eating gummy bears watching the Super Bowl. And literally ever since that moment, I don't eat gummy bears, gummy anything really. Especially if it's like a gummy bear. It just makes me feel nauseous. So 40 years of no gummies really because of that Super Bowl. I get sick watching the Patriots. That's fair. Don't bring up the fridge. That was the same week as the Challenger explosion. Yeah. I had a similar experience with Skittles. To this day, I hate Skittles. Yeah. Yep. Now I want some gummy bears. Dang, Gerber, way to, stab a guy in the heart. I had a similar message last experience with garlic bread. That's sad. Garlic bread is delicious. I had a similar experience with Southern Comfort. Yeah. Fair. That's fair. I have a feeling a lot of people had that experience with Southern Comfort. but the smell and thought of touching it repulsed me for most of my life. That's so, I mean, it just shows how crazy the brain is, right? It just shows how crazy the brain is. Hey, Kia. Good morning. It was Boone's Farm for you? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. That's fair. That's fair. Mm-hmm. Ba-na-na-na-na-na-na. Ba-na-na-na-na-na. Hey, Missy. Good morning. I'm just watching a semi back up and down our street, trying to figure out how to get out again. I had a similar experience with strawberries, but you're good now. Captain Morgan and Dr. Pepper. Can't, just can't. Sorry. We started talking about the Super Bowl, and I talked about how when I watched the Bears play the Patriots in '86, I got sick eating gummy bears, so now I can't. I get sick every time I have gummy anything. I like feel nauseous. Like I don't get sick, but I feel nauseous pretty much anytime I have gummy anything since then. So 40 years now. 151 in Mountain Dew killed my love of Mountain Dew. Mine's a little bit of Malibu and a bunch of pineapple juice instant. That's fair. No gummy vitamins. I mean, I've had them, but yeah, I don't feel great after it. And Mike sang along to Golden, and I wanted to throttle. I'm sorry. You should know by now. I'll just sing songs. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, my friend. Sorry. Sorry. Now it's in my head too. I don't even know how it got in my head, but now it's in my head. And I'm probably gonna be humming it all day. I'm sorry. Don't worry, once the trolls come on TikTok, it'll probably go away. Trying to avoid TikTok. Hello, YouTube. That's right. Are you trying to avoid TikTok? Well, good. Come over to YouTube, where you can speak like a real adult. 10-year-old kid came in the other day and said, I'm thinking of a song you will hate me for, and that's all it. Yeah, my family gets kind of annoyed sometimes at the amount of things that I start just randomly singing about. Something will just come in my head. Yeah, I saw that, Linda. Yep. I've pretty much decided that at some point mine is going to get hit with that too. And I'm trying to figure out how to push more people over here when that happens. Because I also know that anytime if I post something that pushes people somewhere else, it's almost guaranteed to either not get sent to other people or get taken down completely. So I don't know. Yep. Hawk might be just the beginning. Now, to be fair, Hawk takes his statements a little farther than a lot of other people. So it's a little less surprising. Like, Hawk has a history of getting his account taken down. It's not that new for him. No argument there, Kat. Like, literally none. I'm just saying, if you were to tell me that, I don't know, someone who's never had their account got taken down compared to Hawk, like, it's just, trust me, I'm in no way defending it. I am in no way saying that it makes me feel not nervous, because it does. I'm just saying there's a reason Hawk has had 7 accounts. That account that he got to 1.5 million followers was his 7th account. So, just saying. What's up, Scott? And hi, Kat. It was nice to see what's his name is getting sent out. Is getting kicked out of Minnesota. Very happy to see that. Our little guy who likes to dress up like a Nazi. Oh, yeah, Bovino. Like, I actually wonder, because it said, the stuff that I read said it was him and some of the ICE agents, and I wonder how many it's going to be. Aaron, thank you for gifting 5 memberships. Holy moly. See, a Minnesota federal judge is demanding a hearing. No, I did not. Good. Yeah, but Vino will not be enough. Trump thinks, well, no, he's sending Homan down there. Think Homan's going to make it better? Homan might not make it worse, but there's no way on God's green earth he's going to make it better. Aaron, thank you so much for gifting 5 memberships. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Amuckers. Didn't get much sleep last night. We held down the hotel for a while. Yes, appointed by Bush. He's fed up with the administration not following the law. Well, good. Good. Glad to hear it. That's awesome. Love it. Love it, 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 love it. Think it's scheduled for Friday? Heck yeah. Oh yeah, he is trying to find a way out. Unfortunately, there is going to be no way out. Not at this point. Not at this point. There is no way there is going to be a way out. He made his bed, and he's going to have to live in it. If I'm in and out of bed, we're waiting to hear back on a house we made an offer on. Good luck, man. Good luck, Gerber. Woman will do worse. You might be right. You 100% might be right. Bovino's probably looking up flights to Buenos Aires. Possibly, Patrick. Possibly. This is a new way that the app is working. Not sure I'm a fan of it. I have not, Shawnee. Good morning, Courtney. At least Bovino didn't need much leg room. Light. We had pipes freezing this morning. We had some pipes freezing this morning. Did my parents share the same political beliefs as you? I think if you, I mean, my mom, it's tough to say. Now at least my dad does. My mom is no longer with us, but I would say it was probably a little different growing up, but we were always kind of progressive. It appears Pavino's U.S. Border Patrol commander at large has been ousted. I saw that, William. What is the difference between now and what they did during Obama? Well, first off, Americans didn't lose lives. Second, they weren't detaining Americans. Third, due process as a whole. And yes, there were protests before you come up and say, why wasn't anyone protesting? There were protests. Hey, Eleanor. You proudly didn't vote? Okay. We're just going to bring up people.
Man, that's already bringing me up.
Yeah, I don't feel if I'm gonna have to deal with the people that I know are gonna come in, then I'm gonna do it with friends up here.
You know, the whole Bovino thing.
By the way,
understand why he's doing it.
I just want to say quick.
And
protesting and riots are different. No one's rioting right now. They are protesting. The fact that you think that they're riots shows you have no idea what a riot is. But thanks for playing. All right, continue, Scott.
It's a Trump has clearly seen the polling on ICE. He's taken a look at the only issue he has ever been at a favorable rating for, which was immigration. He was plus 12 in March. He's down 17 now, and he just dropped 5 more points before the latest incident. So he's had a flip of between 29 and 34 points. I've been following polling for 50 years. I don't think I've ever seen anybody lose so much on one issue so fast. So he knows that this is a disaster. That's the only way to describe it. And he's looking for a way out. And if he thinks that and he didn't even fire Bovino, from what I understand, he just transferred him. If he thinks that that's going to be enough to end this, he's out of his mind. He has to make the hard steps, and I don't think he wants to.
And MAGA man, first off, they didn't storm a church. There's video of it. They walked in. They actually sat there for a while before they stood up and said, and protested the fact that the pastor of a church was also a leader in ICE. That's not storming a church. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean anything. Why has
Gary, the money coming in to begin with, your Social Security is only not taxed for 3 years. Did you know that? That's the scam that's being played on you, but you're too dim-witted to know that. Secondly, the billions coming in tariffs, that's your money. It's not being paid by other governments. That's a tax on you. Really, how dim-witted can you be?
I was listening to a live, it might have been Steve, and somebody had ordered something, and they were reading how they had to pay their import fees or whatever, and they're like, do you know what that is? Do you know what import fees are?
Yeah. I mean,
and the whole thing on tax on Social Security, they make it out to be that little old granny won't have to pay taxes on her Social Security. All people who just lived on Social Security already weren't paying any tax on it. The only people who benefit from the no tax, and it's only for 3 years, and then it goes away. The only people who benefit from no tax on Social Security are people like me who have other sources of income. And yeah, that's a nice bonus to me. I'd rather see the money go to health care.
And I know he's gone, but I do want to say this. I would a million times over rather have an immigrant than someone who would say a kind of comment like major drainage. He is literally the kind of person that is destroying our communities, not immigrants. Just want to put that out there.
By the way, a little prediction for you. You know, you say impeach Kristi, Noem, she's on her last legs anyway. You want to know why? Because when Trump loses the midterms, he's not going to blame himself. He's going to blame people in his cabinet, and he's going to do a house cleaning because he is incapable of admitting any fault of himself. Now, he's the one responsible for this stuff, but he won't blame himself.
Scott, are you kidding me? Accountability? Do you think they know what that means? That's a lot of syllables and a lot of letters in one word.
By the way, if
Hey,
anyone,
look, this guy's made it to 80 years old without being held accountable for anything. That's a pretty good trick.
by the
From
way,
his perspective, it works.
for anyone who is on here that lives in Illinois, make sure you go check out the video that just posted today. I interviewed someone who's running for Senate in Illinois. So it's not district-wide, it's statewide. So make sure you go check it out. The guy literally bought a school bus and is going around the state to every single district. He's already gone through every single district once, and he's going through again to meet with people.
Doing threatening language in here is going to immediately get you blocked, period.
Yeah. Let me guess. Comply, huh?
Something about Democrats, watch out, we're
No, I
coming,
saw.
stay out of ICE's way.
Yep, I saw
Yeah,
it.
we're not doing that. But come on, TikTok, you know, talking about the weather, talking about the drive-thru, get you filtered.
Hey, Emma, how cold is it in Alaska? Can someone answer my questions? I have not seen anything come from you.
Yes, I saw somebody over on the other side said they saw it on routers, Linda. I saw it on AP talking about ICE is going to be partaking in something with security at the Olympics, and the mayor from the city or the city that the Olympics can be in, they're like, they're not welcome here.
Aw, pie guy, you sound like a child. Let me guess, you ate paint chips as a kid.
With something different. ICE hasn't been here that long. It's literally only been around about a little over 20 years. Like, it's not been around that long.
2003.
It needs to literally be revamped. I get it. What they're supposed to, quote unquote, be doing, it needs to be happening. But there also needs to be more judges, and there needs to be a change in our immigration system overall.
Our immigration system has needed a change for the last 100 years.
Yeah, nobody's disputing the fact that we should have control of our borders. Nobody's disputing the fact that violent criminals should be removed from the United States. Nobody's disputing that. But look at what ICE is doing. They are an unaccountable, untrained, semi-Gestapo-like jackbooted thugs marching through our streets. That is not what they were supposed to be. So the time has come to replace them.
Yep.
Nobody says that the duties that they are supposed to do go away. It's just not with them. They've obviously shown that they're not qualified to handle it.
That whole part. But I'm like, because I guess the couch guy is supposed to be doing like part of the opening ceremonies, and I'm like, is that why they're sending ICE as part of the security? But if that's the case, does that country have the right to say, hey, they're not allowed to come in here? I don't know if you saw the fellow's statement. He was like, he called them unalivers and called them militia, and he's like, they're breaking in people's homes and doing all this stuff. They're not welcome here. Yeah. Yes, Shawnee.
Good point. I would have said essay, but I didn't think many people would get it. They're more like Ernst Röhm's essay, meaning that they're untrained thugs. Good point. I wanted to say Gestapo because it's actually an insult to the Gestapo, which were well-trained people. It was the SA that was much bigger and far less trained, but I didn't think too many people would get the reference. That's why I used Gestapo. Good call, though.
But yes, we need to remember we're talking to everyone, and yes, thank you for doing that, and I appreciate it. But we also need to try and if we say things that no one understands, they'll just leave. It's a balance that we got to do. More international leaders are calling for boycotting the World Cup. Good. Nobody here knows anything about their training. False, actually. We have access to their training materials. Like you can FOIA their training, like their training manuals, their training qualifications, like everything. Pretty easy, actually. Oh, I know they're hiring on Indeed. I've seen that.
And Trump went over Kristi Noem's head, who's supposed to be in charge of that, to transfer Bovino. I wonder just how much thin ice she's on right now. Because he's going to be looking for a fall guy. And I think the fall guy is going to be Kristi Noem.
So Luke, what you're telling me is when people are doing horrible things to people, you should just stay home. Ignore our First Amendment rights to protest. They're not interfering, they're recording.
I just can't wrap my head around sitting there telling people that they shouldn't be angry about the fact that the government is breaking the law.
Oh,
Imagine
brother,
that.
are you... Come on now. No, you come on now.
They could try again tomorrow.
I've literally have friends that are there. This is not a comply and nothing will happen to you thing. And you saying that they are quote unquote protesting? No, they're protesting. You think protesting is going to be taken well by the people you're protesting against? That's why they're protesting. Come on, people. If our government was doing a good thing, then no one would have a reason to protest in the first place. If our government was good people, there would be no protesting. I retire this week as a federal agent. They are absolutely overstepping their authority.
Paid protesting? Really? You're bringing up that old saw? Man, does George Soros have any money left since he's been paying us all so much all along?
Is rioting. No, we're not. No one is rioting. That doesn't mean there can't be riots. Absolutely can be riots. And you know what? When people do things that break the law, they do pay for it. Does that... Again, I am all for doing what you feel is necessary as long as you understand that there are going to be ramifications for it. I can't tell you or anybody what they can or can't do. That's not my place.
You know, somebody in chat brought up that this is the beginning of a civil war. I don't think that I would go that far. I don't think that we're at that spot. But do I think that there are a lot of warning signs flashing? Yeah, I do.
Sure. 100%.
Can you say that one more time? I'm sorry.
Somebody in chat, Kia, said to me or said to the chat, I forget whether it was aimed at me or not, a while back, and then we got on other things, that this is the beginning of a civil war. And I think that's a little bit attenuated. I'm not sure that we are at that point. But there are definitely warning signs flashing all over the place. There's red flags all over the place.
Mhm.
And we have to watch it because this is how these things begin. But I also think that there's a danger in exaggerating it and saying that we're in a civil war right now. We're not. But we're on perilous ground, and that's bad enough.
You think military law, Minnesota calling in National Guard? Yeah, you want to know what the Minnesota National Guard is doing? They're passing out donuts and hot chocolate.
I have a question, Scott. And this is just my brain, my squirrel's having fun in my brain today, I guess. But like, what would a civil war look like today? Because where I struggle sometimes, and just like when people get into the semantics, oh, it's more like this. Oh, because there's a whole lot of stuff that they're doing is very similar to what the slave catchers did. There's like, and people are like, no, it's not this, it's this, it's this. Know your history. And it's like, actually, it's parts of all of it. And that's the thing. I think if we keep trying to base it on what it looked like what 150 years ago, whatever, however long ago it was, that it's going to be completely different. So to you, I'm curious, what do you think, like, what would you call it? We were at civil war. What would you think? Just some of the things. I'm just curious how your brain is working.
Well, I would think that there would be far more violence than we've seen. And believe me, we've seen enough. I'm not minimizing anything that's happened, but you would see armed militias. You would see states calling meetings to talk about leaving the federal government. And you would see both left wing and right wing agitators saying to let's get armed and let's go fight. You would see all of those things. You would see things like a massive shutdown of civil society, namely a nationwide strike, so to speak. You would see people no longer sending their children to school. We're seeing some of that now, but not on a mass scale. So that's why I think when you use a word like civil war, it's pushing the point a bit. But I also want to emphasize that the warning signs are there, and we've got to really be careful here. But we've gone through things like this that are even worse than we are now, and it has not resulted in civil war. And I'm thinking primarily of something from my own youth, the Vietnam War. This country was torn to shreds, but we were not in a civil war. And I remember the same things being said in 1968, 69, 71, 72. We're in a civil war. Well, no, we weren't in a civil war. But it was a horrible time in America. And we're in a horrible time right now. So I don't in any way, Kia, mean to minimize it. But I also think that sometimes we can all get, and it's understandable, in our frustrations, a little bit histrionic. And we have to be a little bit careful about that too.
Gotcha.
If this app is glitching for a lot of people, which it's going to still be glitching, it's better than it was 2 days ago, but it's still glitching. Go over to the tube. The tube is, while it still glitches some, it's better than this one is right now. And you can say what you want. What someone said something I wanted to. Oh, Dando, just saying that's not going to happen is ignorant. We don't know what's in the end what's going to happen. The future is unknown. We know what's happening right now. We know that there are warning signs. We know that there's a lot of possible potential of things that could happen. We know that there's other things that could happen that could change everything we've talked about. We know one event could switch from almost civil war to all of us are coming together. These kind of things are always happening. So while I agree that I don't believe we are at a civil war yet, it is important that we talk about it and be aware of what could happen. And for the one person who said we're done talking, we should never be done talking, no matter what, because the ultimate goal is to make this society better. And no matter what, there is never going to be a point where talking is not going to need to be important. That does not always mean that there won't be other things that are necessary, but talking will always be necessary. In fact, it will be more necessary.
I will say, to what Scott had said, because I know we'll get going, and I don't want to forget that, because to me, I think definitely the language is different now, and that's why I'm just curious, because I don't see it being like a civil war like what happened before. I wonder if the word is being used in a different way than what it meant before, because I don't see, like, this time, if we have a quote unquote civil war, I don't see states separating, wanting to become their own country. I see more of just infighting between ourselves. And then somebody on the other side said people whining about paid protesters conveniently forgot about people being paid to fill the rallies for the orange person.
Yeah, and I would see it somewhat like that too. I'm not talking about secession. I'm talking about mass arms and citizen militias, self-appointed militias fighting each other, things like that. I don't think we're at that point. You know, Heidi brought up a excellent question in chat. She said, Scott, what do you think about the Attorney General Pam Bondi's letter to Minnesota? A couple of things. It's disgusting. Somebody else in chat had an even better word than I did, extortion. That was a better word than I used. But what it shows is that, and they always do it in this administration, they say the quiet part out loud. They claim that ICE is about getting out criminals and enforcing immigration laws. And then she says, but by the way, we'll leave if you give us your voting rolls. So it shows that that's not their motivation at all. It shows the sheer hypocrisy of the Trump administration and their unleashing of ICE in order to extort something completely different to make ICE go away. So it shows that they weren't sincere from the get-go about this. It shows you their inner thinking. And what's amazing to me is they constantly do this. They constantly say the quiet part out loud. Trump goes into Venezuela, removes Maduro, and then instead of talking about, oh, well, this was for drugs or this was to bring democracy to Venezuela, no, he says we want to steal their oil. He says the quiet part out loud. And they do this constantly. And the American people are starting to catch on, which is why the guy's at a 36% approval rating.
And Billy, rule of law only matters if the people in charge of actually making the law and enforcing the law actually follow the law themselves. So saying to slow down and take a breath when the people whose job it is to make and enforce the law are breaking it themselves is kind of short-sighted. And again, you're talking to someone who's very big on following the rules. You can't really be that uninformed. Ah! All right, dude. What about this supposed database of people recording ICE? They may be. They may be. Wouldn't surprise me.
I put please leave caps for ice. I meant to put mods.
Well, see, the ICE really is getting too powerful. Now they're controlling who's modding.
Jesus. But yes, I understand when people are passionate. Please just leave the caps and mods for caps in the chat for mods so we can communicate with each other.
Do you even know why we took Venezuela and want Greenland? Yeah, because the guy in charge is a narcissist child who thinks that might makes right. Crazy man want Greenland.
Yes, indeed. Elon has said he is going to dump a lot of money into the midterms, actually, is what he was talking about. And if I were the Democrats, I would welcome that. I would be utterly delighted that Elon is dumping money into it because he is the second most toxic Republican in the world. The first being, of course, Donald Trump. And anytime Elon dumps money into a state, if I were into a congressional district, if I were the opponent, I would say, just how much money did you get from Elon in the debate? And then you would win.
And Chai Bear, the whole thing when you say the supposed database of people recording ICE, I've seen videos of like the Q folks saying like we've got a database for all of you guys, taking pictures of people's license plates and stuff like that and getting your information. They said that out their own mouth.
Yep. Like I said, there is no doubt that this administration is as corrupt as anyone here has ever seen one. No argument. And they are going to do what they can. They're going to do what they can to try and prevent people from getting out to vote. They're going to try and fight the vote, especially if they lose. This is what they do. It's no surprise. And the way you fix it is we need to get out in numbers so big that they can't fight it. They can't. If you make it close, you make it too close, they're going to argue it. We need to make it so big that there is no way that they have no leg to stand on.
I really do hope that what happened with Bovino is a first step towards a de-escalation. I mean, we'll see. Time will tell. But I hope it's a first step towards de-escalation. But again, I'll repeat, if the president thinks that throwing Bovino under the bus is going to stop all this, he's sadly mistaken. This has touched a nerve. And I'll tell you why I think it's touched a nerve. Not just because people in here on a political chat want to talk about it. That's not important. Everybody's on TikTok. Everybody sees, everybody scrolls every now and again. Over the last 48 hours, I have seen people who never, ever, ever do political content talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
That shows you that it is broken through. That shows you that this is an existential threat for the Republicans in the midterms and in 2028. And Trump sees that, and that's why he's taking the actions he is. And but the real action he has to take, I don't know if he's willing to do, which is a complete remake and a complete replacement of the current ICE structure.
Yeah, sending Tom doesn't guarantee anything. I mean, you might be right. You might be right. But in the end, we'll have to see what happens. I know everyone thinks that it's just going to be more of the same. I doubt it. They wouldn't get rid of the person. What is the solution? Keep talking about it. Keep going out and protesting. Keep recording. Vote in the primaries. Vote in the general election. And depending on what happens, depending on what realities come as of that, then we make changes based on that. But when 20% of the people I am interviewing, I need you guys to hear me because I was talking about this in a recording last night. I am recording 17 people this week in a 5-day period that are running for office, progressives that are running for office, that want to be held accountable, that want real change, that want to fix the problems that everybody sees. But if they don't get visibility, if they don't get people to come out and vote for them in the primaries and the general election, then nothing that we are doing matters. All the complaining that we're doing means nothing. By gathering, that good, but not destroying the streets. They're not destroying the streets. The whole system is broken. That's...
Barry, if you feel that way, you don't have to be here.
They are not destroying... ICE is. Protesters aren't. They're not destroying their own stuff. You understand that the people that are there are a community. They are a community. It's the people that live there that are going out there. They're not destroying their own houses and their own businesses. I know you guys all think there are these paid protesters that are coming from everywhere else, but they're not. Doesn't mean some are, but a majority are people that live there. It's not 2020. It's not 2020. Couldn't pay me to stand in the cold. Also true. By the way, hello everyone else. How do we find the news, the interviews to share? So I'm posting them. Yeah, they're right here. A playlist is called Candidate Corner. I'll probably end up, right now I'm posting 2 a week, but I think I'm going to have to raise that up because there are just so many interviews right now and so many more coming. I think I'm going to have to increase the number. So are you going to answer any of my questions? I haven't seen any of your questions, Wendell. I love that you all just assume that I ignore them, but here I'm giving you here's the 2 things. One, I don't have to answer any of your questions, but I'm being nice and telling you I haven't seen any of your questions.
But we've seen Wendell before. I'm sure his questions will be as good as usual.
Of course we have. Angry men want attention.
I just reposted the link.
Thank you.
If you want to pin it, I can't pin it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you guys know progressives that are running for state or federal positions, let me know. I'm even open to local. The problem with local is there's just so many that it gets a little, I just don't have the time. But did you want to end ICE under Obama? Doc, you obviously have no idea what's going on in this country. Because if you did, you'd know there were protests under Obama about it. There were. It wasn't the same thing, but there still were. And you need to remember that. Bro's mad we're getting rid of net negative taxpayers? Okay. That we'd be getting rid of the billionaires if we were getting rid of net negative taxpayers. 25% of all ICE arrests happen in Texas, only 2% happen in Minnesota. Okay. What's your point? Not sure what your point is.
Good morning, guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. I had a couple really quick things, if you don't mind. One thing is when we were talking about people recording what's going on in these different cities, especially Minnesota and stuff. Um, it really kind of reminded me of um, the civil rights marches and things that were going on in the 1960s, about how a lot of, especially white people, didn't realize what was really going on until they started seeing it in their living rooms. And um, and some of the outrage that really came from that, because they didn't see it. And I think we're having some of the same things now. The internet makes it so that it's instantaneous. So I think there's for those people that are saying, oh well, they shouldn't be recording or they're interfering or whatever. No, they're showing the world what's happening in real time in their communities. And it's perpetuating some of that. It's perpetuating a lot of people that wouldn't are informed, but the outrage is becoming more and more. Um, that was one of the things that I really um, thought about when we were coming into this. Um, and the other thing is for, I'm going to do my commercial early. Um, for those of you that want to talk like an adult, have better conversations, come over to the other side, to the tube. We have he has a lot of great long and short content in podcasts interviewing people um, that you can look at. But we also are live over there too. So we react with what's going on over here on TikTok, but we also have better conversations, more in-depth conversations. So, but those were just a couple of the things that I kind of wanted to talk about. And that was just kind of one of my random thoughts on the subject.
Thank you. Ken, what is impeaching Kristi Noem supposed to do? Attempt to hold people accountable for the choices they make. Put more light on what's going on in this administration. Again, I know as well as Scott has said it, and a lot of us have said it, we know that there's a possibility, a very good possibility, that impeachment wouldn't turn to conviction. But it would potentially open the door for bringing facts to light on what's going on. And I want to answer a question that happened on the other side. Mrs. Reed came in. May I ask a question of the Caucasian people in this live? What is the end game? Is it owning the libs? I'm not trying to own any libs. I'm not trying to own anybody. Hate is a machine that has to be fed. Once the others are gone, who is next? This has nothing to do with hate. This is about talking about the realities of the situation we're in, holding people accountable, and getting real change in this country. I care about what people are doing to other people. The people that are showing hate are the ones that have taken the life of 2 American citizens for doing nothing. Those are the people that live on hate.
You know, Kristi Noem is a microcosm of what's wrong with the administration. And we knew this back in January and early February when the Trump administration was put together. When you have people running agencies who are thoroughly incompetent, things are going to get screwed up, whether it's the Department of Health and Human Services, whether it's the Defense Department, or whether it's the Department of Homeland Security, and certainly whether it's the Department of Justice. We are seeing with regularity the results of having incompetent people at the head of agencies. Incompetent people screw up. That's what they do. It is why they are incompetent. And shame on the United States Senate for confirming these people when these senators knew full well that people like Pete Hegseth, people like Kristi Noem, people like Robert Kennedy Jr., the McMahon over at the Department of Education, who calls AI A1, they knew full well, and Pam Bondi, of course, that these people were not qualified to run their departments. And the results have now become obvious.
Mrs. Reed, thank you for carrying Trump. Unfortunately, is a mirror of the character of America, not the costume of America. I would argue that Trump is a result. There is definitely a group of people, a large group of people that have that think like Trump has allowed people that have a very that look at the world and people the way they do to come out in the open. I would definitely agree with that. There are obviously many people that disagree, which is why you're getting protests. You're getting, these things happening everywhere. So it's not everybody. I will say that, but yeah, there is a problem in American society, a big problem. Some of it is also a lot of people have just not been involved in this country, whether they were convinced to not be involved or they did it willingly. 20 to 25% of American voters do not take part in primaries. So that means 20 to 25% decide who our representatives' choices get to be. No more, 60% is considered an amazing election. 60%. That's bad. That's bad. And until we fix those kind of things, we're always going to struggle.
One thing, and then you can slide me down, and a lot of people don't understand what the Southern strategy was in American history that the Republicans have been doing for decades, and which I think has really allowed the rise of people like the Orange One to come into power, because he that's part of what the Heritage Foundation is. Kind of came out of that. And if you don't know what the Southern strategy was, it's important to really see where Republicans quietly tried to influence a lot of people and stoke the racism and the quote unquote attack on Christianity that we have in this nation. So anyways, but you can slide me down. I'm gonna go back over.
Okay.
Because that's where I feel most comfortable. But that was one thing as we were talking that really look that up, because people would be, I think a lot of people on the left would be horrified to understand what that really was.
I'll explain it for you.
Thank you.
From 1932, the New Deal coalition, until 1968, the South was called the Solid South. They voted solidly Democratic, as they had since the Civil War, because Abraham Lincoln was a Republican. So they became known as the Solid South. They were a part of the New Deal coalition of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. With the passing of the Voting Rights Act in 1964 and the Civil Rights Act by President Lyndon Johnson, Republican candidate Richard Nixon saw an opening that very few politicians thought existed. He thought that he could take the South for the Republicans as an antidote to the Voting Rights and Civil Rights Act of 1964 and 65. And it worked. The South, slowly at first, and then by the time of Ronald Reagan, became solidly Republican. So that was the Southern strategy. It was developed by a young political operative by the name of John Sears, who was an unknown in the Nixon administration, and then, of course, became very known under President Reagan.
Yeah, a lot of people you hear on TikTok call it the party switch.
Yep. And again, we got to remember, this was 80 years. Like what we're dealing with right now is 80 years in the making. It's not like it happened in 2015 or whenever this current president came down the escalator. That's not when it started. They've been working on this for a long time. And there's this desire that we can just snap our fingers and fix it. Well, you can't fix 80 years of work in a snap of a finger. I wish that weren't true, but you can't.
Quite right, Ms. They were known as the Dixiecrats, and they were a great part of the Democratic coalition, and Democrats for a long time would overlook a lot of Jim Crow in order to keep their electoral votes. So parties, and by the way, that's not that unusual in American history. Parties change their coalitions all the time, and they have since 1789. There's nothing new about that. The Republicans took over from the Whigs in 1856. I mean, these things happen. There are political realignments happening all the time. If you want to have fun, folks, take a look at the map of 1960, Nixon versus Kennedy, and take a look at what states voted Democrat and what states voted Republican. You'll be shocked. You'll be shocked to learn that California, Texas, and New Jersey were swing states. They were the big swing states to go after. And you'll be shocked at how the politics was back then.
And I want to make something clear about, at least about Minnesota, because you see a lot of people talking about it. Nobody here is okay with fraud. If anybody committed fraud, they should be arrested, convicted, straight up. My problem is not with what's going on, is not that they found fraud and they're doing something about it. My problem is that they are blaming an entire race of people, an entire group of people, an entire ethnicity of people for it. An entire state of people, while ignoring the blatant corruption, not only coming from this administration, but from other states. And ignoring the fact that this corruption was found years ago and they've already been arresting people for it. You just didn't hear about it because you only hear about things that this administration decides to put on a friggin' Truth Social post. I do not care what letter you have next to your name. If you do something illegal, you should pay for it. You should be arrested. You should be found guilty. You should pay for it. I don't care about your name. I don't care about your organization or what group you're with. Doesn't matter. But when you go in and you say all Somalis in this state and this country did it because some did it, I have a problem with that. No, Sage, I don't care. Not even a little bit. You break the law, you should be held accountable. That's what accountability means. I don't care about the letter next to your name. Just like I don't vote for somebody based on the letter next to their name. I vote on what they stand for. I vote based on what they will do or want to do. And then if they don't do it, then I 100% will push to have them primaried to the next election. That's how we all should be. So I made a video this morning having to do with identity politics. This cult of identity that we're dealing with. We've so associated ourselves with groups that so many of us will wrap ourselves into friggin' pretzels to justify some of the worst things going on, or call for some of the worst things to happen based on our identity. The problem is they lie. Who's they? Who's they? Facts don't lie. We should have I 100% agree. I think every district should have the capability of kicking out their representative. 100% agree. Common sense is a subjective statement, Mrs. Reed. I hear what you're saying, but common sense is not, there's no such thing as common sense. What you consider common sense and what I consider common sense and what anyone on this panel considers common sense could look completely different. Because that's your brain that decides it's common sense. I understand the general gist of what you're saying, but we need to be careful. That common sense doesn't exist. There's no such thing as common sense. And I only say that because there are people on the other side of the aisle that consider some of the things that we think are absolutely batshit crazy as common sense. Social norms. I'll give you that. Definitely, that is definitely closer to the reality.
I'll give you what the AI overview said. It's kind of both of what you guys are saying. It originates from a blend of ancient philosophy where it's seen as a sixth sense, combining sensory input, the sensus, Aristotle's sensus communis, and social experience, evolving into shared obvious truths within a community. It is developed through life experience, cultural norms, and innate reasoning, becoming the basic intuitive understanding people use for everyday judgment, though its specific content varies by context and culture.
Mhm. Which is why empathy is so important. Because empathy is the only way you can understand someone else's perspective and what they see as things like common sense. Doesn't mean you have to agree with them. And that's where a lot on the right get it wrong when it comes to empathy. There's this idea that comes through that empathy means you will agree with them, that you will understand even in the end. Empathy isn't about understanding. Because there are things in this world that I will never understand as a person who looks like me. I will never understand what it's like to live in the United States as a member of the BIPOC community. Never. I can listen all I want, and I will never understand it fully. But that's why it's important to listen. That's why it's important to take their experiences as reality. Because I will never understand it. But that doesn't mean it didn't happen. Oh, Raider, you sound like you've got small hand syndrome.
You should never have a woman leading anything? Really? Plenty of women governors out there. We had a woman vice president. We had Margaret Thatcher led Great Britain for a long time. Golda Meir led Israel for a long time. You should never have a woman running anything? Really?
There are far too many people that believe that. I have actually said it before, based on the fact that a majority of this country has been led by vast majority men through its entirety, and we've gotten to this point, I'd be totally okay with women running it all. Men haven't done too hot of a job over the last 250 years. That doesn't mean there haven't been good ones. I'm looking at it as a whole.
By the way, breaking news, I'm reading it in the New York Times. The top federal judge in Minnesota has summoned the head of the U.S. Immigration and ICE to personally appear in court on Friday and explain why he should not be held in contempt as judicial scrutiny of the Trump administration's aggressive immigration crackdown grows. He has, 72 hours to get himself before that judge. And he's the head federal judge in Minnesota.
Not happening, KT?
Heck yeah.
We'll see about that. I love it when people use absolutes. Best way to be proven wrong is to use an absolute. What will they do when he doesn't show up?
If you don't show up before a judge who's ordered you to appear before him, he can put out a warrant for your arrest. And this is a federal judge, not a state judge. The only way he won't show up is if a higher court stays the order to appear.
Ah, KT. You and your small hands. Mexico has a woman as president. Yup. Germany and Italy have women presidents. Yup.
We should have a woman president.
Totally agree. Should have already.
Mm-hmm. I just, speaking of that, I just get so frustrated, and they sit there and say, but if we run a woman, they're not going to win. They're not ready. This country doesn't think they're ready. But look who's actively doing what they're doing. It's not a woman. It's not an immigrant. It's not anybody from any kind of minority community. So it just frustrates me, the fact that I still hear people say we still gotta go. It just frustrates me. Yeah, here we are. You've got people who are comedians on late night talk show hosts being, taken off the air for, for somebody not liking what they said, and people being dragged in court because how dare they actually try to hold you accountable for breaking the law and doing things that you weren't supposed to do. How dare they? So now, I mean, it's very emotional, if you ask me.
Oh, yeah. Men are very emotional. Any man that says that they're not emotional is lying. Any man that says they're not emotional is lying.
Or a sociopath.
Or a sociopath. Most of them are lying, though. Their emotions just come out differently. Just because you don't do the same thing as a woman does when you are emotional doesn't mean you're not emotional. Just means you show it differently.
And then even with that, different women, me and my sister came out of the same woman, and we show our emotions in totally different ways. Totally different people. And that's the thing that frustrates me. As long as you don't have something wrong with the part of your brain that actively, does that, because I know they say some people have issues with parts of their brain, but as long as your brain is working fine, then you're going to have emotions.
Ken says that we will never have a woman president. We had two who ran and they both lost. That is true. We had two who ran and they both lost. But I just have a question for you, Ken. If Joe Biden had had a 57% approval rating instead of a 37% approval rating, do you really think Harris would have lost in 2024? Do you really think that?
And again, we still don't have most of a huge portion of the country even coming out to vote. Saying absolutes for anything when only 60%, 55 to 60% of the country actually come out to vote is short-sighted. It just is.
Hillary won the popular vote. And also, even with what happened with Harris, in however 107, 109 days, she only lost by 1 million fucking votes. That's why it's still, even every time I hear people say we still got to run a man, the fact there was so many things about that, the fact that so many people actively said we're not voting or we're going to vote a different way. I just think it's frustrating, because to have done what she did in 100 and something days and only have lost by 1 million something, I'm gonna just say that, please be careful in the chat. Please be very careful in the chat what you're saying about this topic. She lost by 1 million something votes, and I'm just like, what if things would have been different?
Well, to begin with, the fact that you had two women run, one won the popular vote by 2.2%, the other lost the popular vote by 1.5%, I don't think shows that a woman can't win. I think it shows quite the opposite, that a woman can win. If one won the popular vote by 2.2%, the other lost the popular vote by 1.5%, both extraordinarily close elections, logic tells you that a woman can definitely win.
And
That's, yeah.
Lost Texan, she's too hot to impeach. That's disgusting. Literally just disgusting. And Dems are cooked protesting for criminals. They're not protesting for criminals. They're protesting governmental overreach, which is their right. No one who is protesting right now is protesting for criminals. Literally not one of them. Except for far-right MAGA people that are protesting. They love protesting for criminals. They put one in office, in fact. So don't pretend that this is about any of that.
Yes, Ken, that is true. The Hispanic vote, the Gen Z and black male vote under the age of 50 did swing right in the last election, although in all three instances, they have gone back further than they swung the right in the elections in 2025. So it was a glitch, but it appears not to be permanent. In all of the elections, the 57 elections, 57 elections we've had since the election of 2024, Gen Z's back in the fold, the Hispanic community is back in the fold, and so are black males under the age of 50. But you were correct in what you said.
Here's the reality, Ken. There's two things that we're trying to say here. One, why put it out into the universe? Why even make that thing? Why even make it real? Support who you want to support. Don't support who you don't want to support. There's no purpose about saying that this will never happen because this didn't happen. You know what else was never going to happen for a while? Black people were going to have rights. Women were going to have rights. There were long periods of time where it was said that that kind of stuff was never going to happen.
It was also said that a Catholic could never be elected president, and then along came Jack Kennedy. So things that you say will never happen have a habit of actually happening.
But also make sure you're educated about who you support. Of course, that's always a requirement. Always a requirement. It's one of the reasons I'm doing what I'm doing. Long periods of time that the Democrat... Nope, see, now you're not understanding how this works here. Great Mentino. Maybe you should just listen and pay attention. This has nothing to do with Democrat or Republican. Those are companies. Those are businesses whose job is to get elected, and they will change their support no matter what.
Good morning, everybody. How you doing?
Hey, what would replace ICE? The same people that used to do the enforcement before ICE existed in 2003. That's it.
And I believe that was the Immigration and Naturalization Service.
Good morning, Kat.
Oh man, I don't know about you guys, but it's negative 30 wind chill right now.
Oof.
I'm not built for this.
What state are you in?
I'm in the grand New York state. But
it's awful cold here in New Jersey too.
Yeah, it's that lake effect that gets you. I actually have to piggyback off that. My uncle actually used to do, when he got out of the National Guard, he used to do Border Patrol before he got into being a U.S. Air Marshal. And you're right, they used to work with that exact agency prior to all this, and this was back in late 90s, early 2000s. He was doing that. He was working Border Patrol with the other agency. I can't remember what you just said, but they used to do all that back then. They didn't have all of the stuff that we have today, and it's only gotten worse with the introduction into what basically post 9/11, all the SAFE Act and everything from there. That's when we saw the rise in a lot of these more, rather than like a a reactionary agency. It was an offense agency for trying to like weed out like immigration and deportation and things like that. And a lot of it is just based off of what we don't stand for in our Constitution is like profiling at the end of the day, because that's what they're doing, and we're seeing it even exacerbated now to this point. You know, the slow rise and everything that's going on, and that it is merely, you know, they've given them the carte blanche to go and like, oh, if they got an accent, you should profile them, and that's just not how things are supposed to be. You know, that's very, very against the Fourth Amendment. You know, your right to be secure in your persons, your body, your autonomy. Not that they understand bodily autonomy, but here we are.
I mean, again, and we've talked about this a lot. The fact is, progress always takes work, because there will always be a group of people that likes things the way they are because they are benefiting from it. It's happened at every stage where a major shift has happened in this country and in other countries. This is why we say never say never. There's no reason to say never, because it can happen. It will happen. It will happen. There's no reason to put it out there, because the second you put it out there, you start convincing, you start seeing other people read that and go, oh, you know what? He's right. It won't happen. Well, you know what? Maybe if less people said it couldn't happen, maybe 1.5 million people would have voted the other way. I don't know. But there's no reason to say it. There's no reason to put it out there. There's a lot of work to do. We've got a lot of problems. The fact that anybody who was unwilling to vote for Kamala Harris because she was a woman, let alone a black woman, is the problem that we need to fix. That's what we need to be working on as a society.
Well, I mean, how many people do you think would think that the NRA was going to be agreeing with them after recent events?
I mean, we talked about that a little bit. It's not really surprising. The NRA is a 2A absolutist, and anybody that does anything that potentially goes against it, they will speak out against. They've done it multiple times.
Oh yeah,
Captain, I agree with that. The NRA, that was pretty predictable that they would say what they did.
Oh, I 100% expected them to, because I mean, I will give them this. They have a very particular policy that they support, and they stick very targeted in on that specific policy. But what I meant to say in my context of things is that I'm not surprised by that, but you see all the people who are locked into not the policy of things, but are, you know, either it's Republican, Democrat, whatever, the letter of things. They look at that and go, well, why is the NRA agreeing with all of these leftists and these extremists and these rioters? It's like, no, they're not agreeing with them. They're sticking to their policy, and their policy is that if one person doesn't have the Second Amendment, all people don't have the Second Amendment. And that's the thing that is surprising, not the people of this panel, but those particular people who are locked into, well, they should only support the Republican side of things. It's like, no, they're not supporting Republicans. They support the Second Amendment, full stop, period. Whether you agree with that or not, they're agreeing that this is our policy, this is what we believe in, and this is what we're sticking to, and what happened is wrong based off of how we believe things. And that, don't misquote me on this, but I gotta respect that that's where they stand, because, hey, you're sticking to what you agree to, you know, you're not folding because it happens to support a different political party.
And thank you, Kiva, over on the other side. Yes, primaries are different than general election. Primaries are where you pick the person who is your top choice. And general election is where you pick the best choice of the ones available to you. And to say that none of them are the best choice is being ignorant to the realities of the world. Now, do I think that Kamala Harris was 100% more than capable and would have been a great president? Yes, I do believe that. And I would vote for her again and again and again and again and again. Do I think she was perfect? No, because none of us are.
Non-useful to answer your question about the 20% of people not voting or whatever the percentage may be, because I don't know it specifically. I'm going to take your word for it. It's very simply, I hope I'm not oversimplifying this, but it's a matter of optics. Think about what you were worried about when you turned 18 to about 25 years old. What were you worried about doing? And what did you have as far as a grasp on the world around you and what happened and how it directly affected you? I would argue and I would wager that most people between the ages of 18 to 25, which is predominantly where you're probably going to find that percentage, and again, I haven't looked at it, so don't quote me like it's the Bible, but if you are of that young age group and you're worried about going to college and you just got the ability to vote, or maybe you're signing up for the Army, or maybe, you're going out and partying because you turned 21 and it's your first time, you're able to go and have a couple adult wobbly pops and what have you. Those are your immediate concerns. You don't understand the full concept of what the bigger picture is because your brain hasn't developed yet. And at least we get into the geopolitical world affecting things that happen out there. That's a big predominant issue. That's also why you have predatory student loans happening around that time, not just because that's the time when you go to college, but because people don't understand what they're getting involved in because they haven't developed yet. And without the guidance from their parents or their caretakers, guardians, what have you, older people around them, at the end of the day, they just don't know. They don't know, and they don't understand what long-term effects of things are. I certainly didn't when I was growing up. Because I understand politics to be policies, and people are like, well, either you're Republican or Democrat. And I was like, well, I only like a little of column A, a little column B. I don't get this. No one told me, because the people around me were very one way or the other. No one told me that there was like other options or other things or other avenues or other ways to be involved politically. That's something that I had to learn by myself many, 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 many years down the line. Much after I was 20, like I hate to say it, but much later after I was 25, almost into my 30s, that I got more directly involved with because I understood, hey, these things are affecting me, and my brain had developed enough to understand that, And then if you're stuck in that way for a long period of time, and people around you don't care because it doesn't affect you day to day. Because let's be real, politics, at the most part, don't affect your immediate everyday lifestyle. They stay like that. And that's where you get the older people who end up being that way.
And Steve, why didn't I need to say this quick? Why she was the first to drop out? 20% of the voting of registered voters vote in the primaries. 20%, not 60%. 20, not 100%. 20. So you ask why she wasn't supported then? She wasn't supported by the 20% that chose to vote. That's why.
If you're referring to the election of 2020,
Yep.
when Harris dropped out, Harris dropped out before there were any primaries.
Yeah,
she dropped out, and she did a terrible job in that election. She had no real lane. She didn't articulate her positions. She grew as a politician between the years 20 and 24, and she admits it. She ran a lousy campaign. She got no traction. She dropped out before Iowa. Going to Captain's point on young voters, it is true. And Captain, I do a lot of forecast modeling, so I do have the stats on young people voting. I have the stats on every age demographic voting. Young people do vote, of course, at a lower percentage than older voters. However, this group, Gen Z of young voters, votes at a higher percentage than any other age group, any other demographic when they were that age. So they are far more politically active than any other group in American history when they were at that age. So that's something that is a good thing, and they will only increase their voting participation. And the other thing about them that you briefly touched upon, you didn't know their political leanings. And there's a good reason you don't know their political leanings, because Gen Z does not, as a general rule, obviously there are exceptions, but as a general rule, Gen Z does not like to particularly identify with either party. Gen Z and increasingly Hispanic voters do not like to identify with a particular party, although at this time, as in early 2026, they are far more likely to vote Democratic. They're now very strong parts of the Democratic coalition, but don't call them Democrats because they don't like to be called Democrats. They don't like to be called Republicans either.
And
they're very independent.
And I will say this, I agree with them. I don't think anyone should be able to be a part of a party. I think the only people that should associate with a party are ones that are running, because I think I am okay with a coalition of people that have the same ideas all running based on those ideas. I don't think anyone voting should be associated with a party. I think it should be opened up for anyone to choose who they think in a primary are the best choices and then vote for the best person in the general election. That's my own personal opinion. That's what I've always pushed for. But
yeah, and one last thing, Captain. Gen Z, their number one issue, more than any other age demographic, is the economy. They are very, very concerned about the economy to the extent that they aren't as concerned about other issues. They are very focused on the economy.
Y'all just ignore the bad things the government was up to. Fraud for one. Nope. We don't ignore anything.
That, Scott. And it's funny you say that, because we had a conversation about this and about psychology the other day. Because that's, a lot of people may not know this or do know this, but like that was one of my minor studies that I did. And we were talking about the other day, especially as it comes to Gen Z. And I don't think this is a bad thing. It was just kind of a general observation, is that, yeah, you're right. They don't do identity politics. And not only do they not do identity politics, they don't like having a label put on things, whether it's for politics, social labels, or relationship labels, things like that, where they're like, I don't like to be put into a particular box. Back in the day, it was like, oh, we have the preps and we have the jocks and we have the music kids and yada, yada, yada. And they're like, nah, we're just kind of people, man. We're just kind of people. And we don't like those labels and we like those things. And a lot of people are saying, well, that's a problem, because how do you know who you are? And I go, I would argue that's how you find out exactly who you are, and that we don't have a set label on who I am as a person. I can be a sports jock type person who likes to play music and wear pink dresses on the weekend. And that's perfectly okay. That's perfectly fine. And that, I think, when you're talking about conservatism, people who don't like change, that messes with them. That screws them up, because they're like, well, these kids just don't know what they want. Or I'm like, no, these kids know what they want. That's why they don't fall into a category. They can like a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. And that's the big thing there, is that I think that's a wonderful thing for the growth of society, because when you embrace all cultures, when you embrace all walks of life, when you embrace all ideas, and then take those in, think about them, and then spit out who you want to be and what you want to take from those things, I think that's how you get the most well-adjusted individuals that you can possibly have. And I say this as a middle-aged, well, not middle-aged, in the middle of the row millennial kind of person,
Yeah,
if they're millennial for sure.
If you want to find out more about Gen Z, and then not just you, Captain, but anybody in chat or anybody here on the panel, if you want to find more about Gen Z, there's one place to go, and that's John Della Volpe. He runs the Harvard study of Gen Z, and they study Gen Z constantly. That is all they do. They study their politics, they study their psychology, they study their social values, and you can find out all you want to know about that very interesting generation by following him, and they constantly are publishing studies. And not just political polling, they poll on everything.
What generation predominantly raised Gen Z? Gen X and Millennial. Both.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like late or early
Jonathan,
Gen X
I
and
would be
millennial.
interested to know what you consider being conservative, especially as a 23-year-old, because I think there is a lot of misnomers on the idea of what conservative means, especially for people. I think there's a lot of people that have been told what it means to be conservative, and that's not actually what it is. And I would also argue that as a 23-year-old, I don't know how you could be a conservative, because you just got out there. Like, you don't know what you're conserving. Now, I can guess what you think it means to be a conservative, and I would argue that that's not the case, but I need to hear first before I.
Yeah, I always hear like people like, "Oh, I'm conservative," and like I would have been described that back in the day because I was like, "Oh, I have the values that I hold dear to my heart, and these are like set in place." And people confuse like having set moral boundaries or set ideologies. Like for instance, you could be religious, right? Um, being religious doesn't automatically make you conservative. If anything, if you think about how Jesus' teachings were, he was progressive. He was like, we need to change things for the better. We need to change stuff. We need to help people. We want to do socialist type programs. And when you hear about religion, you know, a lot of people are like, well, those are religious is conservative values. I was like, did you read who your role model was? Because that's not the same thing. And I can't speak exactly like my in-laws and my family and stuff like that. Like, you know, they're all Jewish, and I'm agnostic at best on some days. But the reality of the situation is this: is just because you are religious doesn't mean you are conservative. Just because you have set foundational things doesn't mean that you're, you know, unwilling to look at other things. Or if you have set morals or set guidelines, that doesn't mean you're conservative. It just means you've decided things that are important to you. Because my set guidelines are that I think that everyone should have rights and everyone should be treated equal. And people would say, well, that's leftist, that's progressive, whatever. I'm like, yeah, but I've never changed that thought process. And, you know, so that doesn't mean that I'm conservative in those views. I'm progressive in those views.
Right. And that's what I noticed too. There was a period where I considered myself conservative. And I think as I look back, I realized that I wasn't conservative because I was actually conservative. I was conservative because I was told that that's what it meant to be conservative. Less government in general, shouldn't have any laws for either side, and no DEI in short. Okay. So here's the thing. One, conservative, I would argue, doesn't mean
With
less.
ICE, you must be outraged by what's going on in our foreign policy, which are all big government policies.
And again,
So you must be outraged by Trump if you're a small government person.
Here's the thing. I would argue that less government goes against equality in my mind, regardless of race, and less government. And that's fine. I don't, and here's the thing. You call that conservative? I disagree. In 2026, wanting less federal government oversight into people is actually as progressive as you can get right now. Because right now, the federal government is telling people who they are, who they can be, what they can believe, what they should believe. And when it comes to DEI, I need you to hear this. And I don't know anything about you. I'm being, and I'm not saying that is a bad thing. It's just a reality. If you are against, we all should be against DEI broadly, in the sense of we should not have a society where that is necessary, where color of skin matters. The reality, though, is our society is still racist. and is still built on racist things. And the reason DEI exists is because too many people who look like me, I know it's not all DEI means. I'm saying it in the sense of what a lot of them look at it as meaning. I understand that. There's reasons that it exists, and the reasons that it exists are for a reason. It's because people in this country too often have been treated poorly. And to pretend that it's not necessary or it it's not needed anymore is ignoring the realities of this world.
So, Jonathan, getting back to my point, with the expansion of federal authority that we have seen under Donald Trump, with the diminution of Article 1 powers held by Congress because of an overweening executive branch, you must be outraged by all that. Am I correct?
And on a lesser extent too, I want to, during the time for response from them, my simplistically thing with DEI is this: if everything's equal as far as skill sets, you should be able to close your eyes, know nothing about the person, and pick them equally as the best candidate for the position. So you don't need a name, you don't need a race, you don't need anything. You should be able to look at the skills and pick them as the person. What ends up happening, though, is when a person has equitable skill, equitable everything, it could be the exact same sheet of paper copied and pasted, but one person's white and one person's black. Without DEI, what ends up happening is people end up choosing just white people. And what you miss out in that situation is the other factors that you don't know, which are social factors. And I'll give you an example from China. Tide was trying to sell Tide in China, but you know what happened? They couldn't sell it, and they couldn't figure out why they weren't doing it. Well, a Chinese person who worked in the plant, who wasn't in the upper management position, had been passed over numerous times, said, well, that's because they don't have washing machines. You got to sell Tide as like a dry powder because they hand wash everything in rural China. Well, don't you know that no one knew that because it was all a bunch of white complexion people who had no idea that that was the case. All of a sudden, Tide puts their product out for this rural cultural thing, which was this dry powder, and they're selling Tide left and right. And the reason is because they didn't have somebody from a different cultural background in the positions they should have been. So that in that particular case, DEI didn't hinder the process. If they would have had that person in that position, they would have been making money over a fist, if you want to be a greedy capitalist about it. And that's just one example of how, like, having the paperwork be equitable across the board and just not choosing someone because of cultural, race, religion, sex, whatever, is non-beneficial overall to the growth of a society, whether it's just for purely greed and capitalism or for more important things like research and development and medical expansions and stuff like that. All that stuff is important to have a mix of people because it benefits us all to know what benefits us all, not just one particular group.
Ken, don't know if I quite agree with you on that. If you paid people $60 an hour to work in the fields, I think you would get people to work in the fields. I don't think the stereotyping is the thing that would stop them from working there. I think you're taking a point and you're stretching it to an illogical conclusion.
Here's the reality. I actually, in a broad sense, I agree with the idea of small government, depending on what you consider small government. I think federal government's job should be to make laws that protect all people, that truly protect all people. And if there are laws that are being made that hurt a group of people, no matter who it is, it needs to be either changed or not happen at all. I think that is the purpose of the federal government, is to deal with federal things, all people kind of federal things. So when we're talking about healthcare. Healthcare should affect all people. The federal government should have a part of that. Education should affects all people. The federal government should have some part in it. Maybe not full part in it, but some part in it. But when it comes to, clean water and things like that, I think in a perfect world, and this is where it gets hard. I mean, now that I'm sitting here talking about it, I think we say we want small government, but we don't want small government. We just want things to be the way we want them to be.
It really, Mike, when one takes a look at the 21st century, whether you're talking about Democrats or Republicans in power, we've seen a massive expansion of government. The idea of small government is as dead as the dodo bird. We've seen a massive expansion in government under both Democrats and Republicans. And along with that massive expansion of government, we've seen a massive increase in our national debt that nobody seems to care about anymore. And that's both parties. Don't see Democrats caring about it. You don't see Republicans caring about it.
Yep. And like I said, this is something that literally just hit me right now. I've said this kind of stuff all the time. I think in the grand scheme of things, what a government has to be the people's mind and heart would be nice. And I think it would be more likely with a smaller government. But again, there are 330 million people in this country, Jonathan. None of us think the same thing. So how can you say that?
Think of the government like a service.
I'm sorry. Can I speak, please?
Okay. Yeah, go, Kate. After you.
Especially on the DEI thing, I get really frustrated when the conversation gets just minimalized to black and white people. That is not all DEI is about. And when we engage back in those conversations, even if that's how they interpret it to mean, that we cannot just allow that to keep being the way we can't engage with them on that kind of stuff with the wrong information. DEI is not just in black and white people. It is a lot more than that. It is DEIA. It is also accessibility. That's ramps for people who are in wheelchairs. That's elevators. That's power opening doors. It is positions for people who are veterans and women. I'm so frustrated. I was just sitting here and I'm like, I'm not hearing anybody say anything about stuff other than black and white. That is not what DEIA says. We cannot keep engaging in these conversations if we're not going to be truthful and factful about what is going on. Oh man, I'm sorry. I've been sitting here trying to speak for like 20 minutes and then the DEI conversation came up and I'm just like, I'm frustrated. Here's one of those times where even when we're on the right side, I don't like how we're engaging in this conversation.
That's fair. You're right.
We cannot say just because that's how we think they understand it, that we cannot challenge how the way they think. We cannot grow and progress further if we don't challenge the way everybody thinks about things. Period. Leftist, rightist, independent, Republican, black, white, Mexican, Puerto Rican, whatever. All of us, we have to engage in open and fair conversations. That's the problem when they keep thinking it's just about black and white people. While everything that you guys are saying, it's right. When people see my name on an application versus Heather Williams, you know what I mean? There is a difference. I've seen it. I've seen people engage in hiring stuff and had to call people out about it. Oh, you know what I mean? Like straight out. But it is more than just black and white people. And Jonathan, I need you to do some research. Think about how helpful it was for veterans who, after they got out of the service, trying to help them find jobs that had places that could accommodate them. What about people who lost their legs? What about people who don't have all of their limbs? It's providing touch tone things, braille on places. There's so much more than just black and white. I really need you to do some research. I need you to come out of the bubble and I need you to start looking like really what DEI means and what it stands for. And it's not just equality. It has to be equity. I need you to do some research, please.
And Jonathan, I would like to point out if you could find anybody in government who still believes in small government anymore. But find me the Republicans who still believe in small government as they rapidly expand the federal branch of government. You know, find me those people, because I don't know who they are anymore. They don't seem to exist. Or Democrats, doesn't matter, Republicans or Democrats. We hear the phrase small government all the time as if that is an absolute good, and it is absolutely ignored on the federal and state level everywhere. Everywhere. Republicans, Democrats, everywhere.
And
Kia, I 100% agree with you on that. Oh, sorry, Mike, you go first.
I just want to say, and Jonathan, don't feel sorry for saying it. This whole podcast is about having hard conversations and making mistakes. Kia called us out when we made a mistake, and that's important because that's how we learn. The only way we're going to learn, the only way we're going to get better, the only way we're going to grow, the only way we're going to move forward is if we have these kind of conversations and we are open and honest about it. I made a mistake in the way I was doing things, and Kia was right. And
I want that clip. Thank you.
Oh no, there it is. There, clip in chat. Clip it right there. Clock it. No, and I agree. I agree with Kia 100% because obviously I made the same vernacular issue. In that fact, I guess the reason why I think about it, and this is, I want to point this out. No excuse. When you take accountability, there is no button accountability at the end of the day. I was speaking of it in a visual spectrum versus like the invisible disabilities, which a lot of people deal with on a day-to-day basis. I should know this better because I've been fired for that. And I watch people on a day-to-day basis for my job, and those who have invisible disabilities, where it's neurodivergent people, or it is people who are dealing with PTSD. There's a lot of different things where accommodations need to be met in those fields. And, at first I'm apologize to Kia because 100% correct. And I have to do the same thing moving forward, and just like realizing the way that things are said and how things are said and whom they are said to are very important in the way that you conduct yourself at the end of the day. Because when I worked at, I don't think I can say the name, but for the Gecko, when I worked for the Gecko, we had an entire group of people when Wells Fargo came in, fire a bunch of people who were on FMLA and who were relying on those processes, and a lot of them were people who needed accommodations at work, whether it was a standing desk or whether it was like visual impairments. We had one guy who had a visual impairment. He was like a veteran who had a concussion in the war or something like that, and they're like, well, buying big monitors for him costs too much money. And that's what those programs are designed to help out with, other than race, other than all those other things. And so yeah, I appreciate you for calling that out, Kia, and I apologize.
Ken makes a statement in chat. There are so many programs that used to be independent. Ken, could you expand on that? Because I really don't know what you're attempting to say with that.
And while we're waiting for that, I just want to also say, for anyone that sits there and thinks they're conservative because they like the idea of small government, I need you to sit back for a second and actually process what that means. Because if you care about people, you should not be okay with any government, whether state, federal, local, putting forth anything with the knowledge that it is hurting other people. If somebody tells you that a law that is being made, no matter where you're at, is hurting a group of people, you should be against that.
Yeah, and I'll take it a step further, Mike. The American people want big government. They've shown that time and time again. They want the Affordable Care subsidies. Farmers say, oh, I want small government, but we do want our subsidies. We want to make sure we get our price supports. Everybody's got their hand in the till, and the American people have shown overwhelmingly that they want large government. Yeah, I understand the desire for small government. I'm just wondering who, outside of mouthing that phrase, actually really does want small government. You know, when we vote over and over and over again for the never-ending expansion of government in this country on both the state and federal level. So I hear the small government stuff all the time, and it usually relates back to Ronald Reagan, who, by the way, expanded the federal budget. You know, so he didn't really believe in small government. He just talked like he did. I would like to see where there are examples of small government. I don't see any. Certainly not in this century, under both Democratic and Republican Congress, and that's bipartisan, has been a never-ending expansion of government into our lives.
I also want to say, and this is going back, like I was wanting to speak when that comment came up about a woman can never be a president or whatever. One of my biggest things, and if you're in here at any time and you listen at all, I have been saying, if we keep saying that a woman cannot be president, then we are sticking and shorting ourselves. You can't keep thinking that kind of negative and positive, that kind of negative energy out there. It's like you're literally doing what they want you to do. This to think that we can't have anybody that other than a white man run the president in a way that's going to be beneficial for everybody. I wish people would really wake the fuck up. 250 years, with the exception of 8 years, who has led us and where are we? It was not Kamala Harris that did it. It wasn't Hillary. She didn't do it. So we have to stop that shit. Stop saying that a woman can't win. Stop it. Period.
Well, I would argue that the results that were pointed out in chat, that a woman ran twice and lost, if you actually look at those elections, where one woman won the popular vote by 2.1%, 2.2%, and one woman lost by 1.5%, that ipso facto, in two of the closest elections in American history, proves that a woman can be elected president. If the woman had lost by 15 points, I would understand the argument that you can't elect a woman. I would understand that argument. But when elections are that close, it proves by its very nature that a woman can be elected president. If 70,000 votes change in 2016, Hillary Clinton's in the White House. If 400,000 votes change over Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, actually, excuse me, I think it was about 270,000 votes change over those three states, Vice President Harris is now President Harris. And that's out of 160 million votes cast. So that alone is proof that a woman can be elected president, not the opposite.
Absolutely. And please, I hope you guys heard me earlier and think about, and if what I said made you feel a little on the inside, I want you to think about why I said that. Are you engaging in conversations the way it was engaged in here earlier? Are you only engaging it like that? That's how to progress. We have to progress as people. We have to read and expand on our knowledge and continue to work forward in order to make changes. And that starts with us. We can't expect the other side to be doing things that we're not doing ourselves.
RTML, what fraudulent votes are you talking about? Are we back on that kick? You had 63 court cases in 2020 to find fraudulent votes. Didn't find any.
And actually, of the few fraud cases that actually went through, all of them were conservatives. Like, of the cases, not had to do with votes, but people that attempted to sway elections, they were all Republicans.
There are no more safe and secure elections than there are in the United States. Are there some fraudulent votes? Sure. Out of 160, 165 million votes cast, there are going to be a couple fraudulent. not enough to change the election of a dog catcher in a town of 2,000. That's not an issue. So please stop with that utter, unproven, consistently unproven nonsense.
It's about time to end. Do you want him to do the commercial?
Sure.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit different today. We all know what to do at the top of the screen, so I don't have to go over that, okay? Hit the little orange heart, hit the black boxes, everybody wins. End of my whole pitch on that. No comedy on that today. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the importance of the tube. We've seen a lot of changes since Ellison and his gang took over TikTok. We don't know what's going to happen. We have seen evidence of already, within 48 hours, of content that is center and left of center being taken off TikTok. We've seen it. It's begun. It's happened. So we've talked a lot about the tube. Now, more than ever, if you've been debating about it, if you've been thinking about it, look, I am a 69-year-old man and the biggest creature of habit you ever saw in your life. I don't know how to do shit on social media, okay? But even I'm trying to go over there a little bit more and more and more. The reason being, if you like this community, if you enjoy the content here, we cannot any longer guarantee how long we will be on TikTok. It's as simple as that, folks. So I'm not going to give you the whole spiel of, oh, the graphics are better. It's wonderful to talk over there. I'm going to appeal to your own self-interest. If you like what you hear here, please, it's really in your own self-interest to go over there because things are getting real around here on TikTok, and we don't know how much more time we have left. And I hate to be so blunt, but that's the truth of it.
And again, we've talked about it a little bit, but things like the primaries and stuff are more important now than they ever have been, especially if we want real change. So it's going to take work by us. And I say this because for those of you that are new here, this year I am interviewing as many progressives that are running for office, both state and federal, as possible. And when I say I'm interviewing a lot, I have 17 interviews this week. I have 5 today. Literally, I'm going to get off, shovel some food down my throat, and start 3 interviews in a row. And then quickly make dinner, and then do 2 more interviews. Because it's that important. Because it's important that everyone in every district see that there are other people than just the people that have been there for 10, 20, 30 years, or that are willing to take in whoever, whatever kind of money that's out there. There are some amazing progressives that aren't taking corporate money, that aren't taking PAC money, that want to be held accountable, that want to have constant town halls while in office, that want to change things for the better, that understand that we can't keep going with the status quo. There are some amazing ones running in many districts. But these people do not get the visibility of everybody else, of the ones that take money, because they don't have the money to throw at it. So that means we need to do the work. So I'm asking you, I'm begging you, if 2 things I'm begging you. 1, if there are people in your state, in your district that are running, that are progressive, and you know about them, please let us know, because we'd love to interview them and help get some visibility. And 2, please help us get that visibility. That means watch the content. Go over to the tube, watch the content, share the content. I'm running for state rep and district. If you're not in the Discord already, please do and reach out. We'd love to interview. That's awesome. Watch it, share it. I'm going to be making a website that's going to make it also that's going to make it even easier for people to find it, that you can share with people. I'm in the midst of working on that now. But if you can help this podcast grow and make it possible for me to keep doing what I'm doing, it will make it more possible for me to do these important things, to get this kind of change. These conversations need to be had. What I'm low for someone who's running for mayor. I'm willing to interview someone running for mayor, especially if they're progressive. So please help. Please watch the entire video through and then like it and comment on it and do the things that show the algorithm that there's value to it. That's how it pushes it out to other people. And the fact is when those numbers are higher, other people are more likely to watch it. That's also a reality over on the tube. If you see that only 5 people watched it, it's not going to mean as much as if 1,000 people watch it. That's just a reality. It's a sucky reality, but again, we want to give these people visibility. We want to give these people the ability to make that change that we've been talking about nonstop. And it's an easy thing to do. Yes, it's the same name. Queen Flea. Yep, exact same name. Actually, an episode just came out today where I'm interviewing someone who's running for Senate in Illinois.
If you have any issues, oh, I'm sorry. If you have any questions, if you need help with the Discord link, if you DM me or one of the other mods, we can get it to you.
Yep. And just one last thing, quick. If you are in New Jersey's 11th district, or you know someone who's in New Jersey's 11th district, please push them to get out and vote and check out all the people that are running in that special election, which starts, I think early voting starts Thursday. And there are some amazing people that aren't getting a lot of visibility. I interviewed one of them. And again, the question is, do we want real change, or do we want to just complain about it?
And I know the 11th district. I'm in New Jersey. It is really, some districts you may not think it's important to vote in. This is one that's very important to vote in. It is a very tight, very competitive district. It's going to be the ones that'll make or break the House for the Democrats in November. So it's really, really important to vote in that 11th district.
And also, there are just some really cool things that are in the works right now that are coming up. So if you don't follow over there and if you want me to be able to expand even stuff that we want to do, I just watch stuff. That really helps. I mean, if you can support financially, obviously that would be amazing. But just watching the stuff means more than you possibly can know. So there's a lot of cool things coming in the future that I'm working on that I can't say yet because none of them are written in stone yet. So, but anyways, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thanks for the likes, the shares, the gifts, the gifted subs over on the tube. Thank you so much. Hi, Queen Flea. Thank you, guys. Please watch the content, share it. Let's get these people that want to fix things elected. At least give them some visibility. Give them a real chance. That's what they're looking for, is a real chance. Thank you, Kia and Scott and Captain. I know you're gone, but thank you guys for being up here. I appreciate you every time being willing to come up. Yeah. Thank you. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Same time, 9:30 over on the tube. And then we'll go live here on TikTok later. You guys are amazing, just the way you are, and I love you all very much. Stay safe, stay healthy. Remember to sing, laugh, dance, smile. Do something that makes you happy. Bye, guys. Bye, bye, YouTube, whatever you are. Bye. I'll see you tomorrow.